Welcome, everyone. This is the debut episode of the Spit It Out podcast. I'm your host, Jeff. Kind of resurrecting this thing here. Did a little podcasting years back, but getting it started back up here. So, this is kind of the introductory episode. What we're going to be talking about on the Spit It Out podcast is pretty much anything creepy, paranormal, UFOs, conspiracies. Anything kind of on the weird, bizarre, creepy side of things. That's kind of what we're focused on here. And kind of the rundown of what we're going to do is going to start out going over weekly media consumption, including books, games, stuff watched, music listened to. Then at the end of the episode, we're going to cover a topic. This week's topic is going to be my top 10 found footage horror movies. So, kicking things off here, starting off with books. Started this book called Horror Store. I'm only one chapter in, unfortunately. I haven't been doing a ton of reading lately. So, can't really tell you too much about it. It's basically kind of like these people that kind of work at like this IKEA type store, I'm guessing. You know, I mean, it doesn't say IKEA, but that's kind of like what it's assumed to be. But it's kind of like the store is not all cracked up to what it's supposed to be. So, yeah, I'm kind of interested diving more into this when I get time. Games-wise, if you guys follow this channel at all, I do some videos for Destiny 2 and the WWE 2K series. Like, that's kind of like the main stuff kind of focus on. So I won't really be talking about that. But other things, tried out this game called Coffee Talk for PS4. It was a free game for the month. So, I don't really know, man. I didn't really get into it too much. I'd say, like, I played it like probably a good hour and a half of it. But it's kind of like a visual novel in a way. So basically it's just clicking, you know. I mean, to me, I'd just rather read a book. The only thing that you really do is make coffee for people that come in. So basically, you're like a coffee shop owner, and you get these different personalities coming in. Except it's kind of like set in like a futuristic aspect where you got different kinds of like races of people and creatures, and you know, like I think there's like vampires, werewolves, humans, just all kind of aliens. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it's not bad. Like, if you're into, like, visual novel type games, you might enjoy this. It's just not... it wasn't really compelling enough for me to play the whole thing. Another game I checked out that was free for the month is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. I remember playing this a long time ago and really enjoying it. And, yeah, I popped it in. I probably played it for a couple hours. It was fun. Not really something, like, I got into too much, but... yeah, not too bad. If you enjoy, like, racing games, especially, like, more, like, on the arcadey side of things, you probably enjoy this. Going into things watched for the week. By the way, this is, like, the last 2 weeks. But normally I'm just going to go over, like, the weekly stuff. So, I started watching Goosebumps on Tubi, and I thought I got through the first season, then kind of realized that everything was, like, out of order. And, like, stuff was missing, so I don't really know what was going on, because, like, I got to an episode where it said part 2, and it's like, well, wait a second, I didn't even see the first part. So, unfortunately, I kind of stopped there. That was going to be the initial, instead of found footage movies, which kind of, like, had to pull out at the last second. My intent was to do review the Goosebumps Season 1, but I couldn't do that because Tubi's got it all out of whack, which is kind of something I noticed they kind of do for a lot of their shows. Like, you kind of have to be careful. Like, if you like watching things in order like I do, you kind of don't know what you're gonna get with Tubi. I love Tubi. It's like my favorite platform to watch stuff on, but I'll say, like, TV wise, I don't know. But if you're curious, you can watch it on there, and I believe Disney Plus has it. I'm not a Disney fan, so I'm not gonna subscribe to that, but if you do have Disney and you want to watch Goosebumps, it's probably the best place to watch it. I'm sure they have things laid out pretty smooth there. Movie-wise, checked out The Northman. It's on Peacock. It was pretty solid. You know, like if you're into the Game of Thrones type stuff or kind of like stuff set in that time period. It's a really quick, easy watch. It was kind of a lot more fast paced, a lot more action than I kind of thought. I mean, there are some slower parts, but yeah, it's a pretty decent watch. I was glad I checked it out. Another movie I watched that was also on Peacock is Willow Creek. I kind of watched this in preparation for found footage horror movies. I had seen it a long time ago, but didn't really remember a lot of it. Really good on a second watch. I believe the first time I watched it, I wasn't like too into it, but the second time it was really good. Spoiler: it didn't make my top 10, but I could see it like making my top 20 for sure, and maybe even top 15. But yeah, it's basically about a couple that go out searching for well, not like searching for Bigfoot, but this dude wants to go out to the spot like where the Patterson Gimli stuff was shot, I believe. And so they kind of like trek out there to record it and stuff like that. And yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. I won't spoil any more for you. But it was very entertaining. Very, another movie, very fast paced. Like, it kind of starts and it's over pretty quick. Easy watch, I'll say. That was kind of all for movies I watched. Didn't really watch a lot lately, but I'm gonna get into watching more stuff, so we'll have more stuff to talk about later. But music, that's kind of where I was spending a lot of my time, because I was kind of catching up on like stuff I missed out like in 2024. Mainly metal stuff, so my music stuff that I might be talking about here is mostly metal related. But we got Job for a Cowboy, their album Moon Healer, and by the way, all this stuff came out in 2024. Very good album, man. You know, if you like Job for a Cowboy, this is an excellent album. It's like a mix of prog, death metal, just outstanding stuff. Really enjoyed it. Very highly recommended. If you're into death metal or even like proggish death metal, I would say definitely worth checking out. Next up, we got 200 Stab Wounds with Manual Manic Procedures. They're just a straight up death metal band. Their songs are pretty short. They're straight to the point. 2,000 Stab Wounds. They're kind of a band I recently came into listening to the last maybe like 2 years. Very consistent. But yeah, they're just straight up death metal. So if you like death metal, they're definitely definitely a band worth checking out. Next up, we got Castle Rat with Into the Realm. This, like, I had never heard of this band before, and I believe this was their debut album. I could be wrong, they might have one before it. But it's, like, very old school doom metal. So if you think, like, Black Sabbath or kind of bands that sound like that, it was awesome, man. The lead singer, she's got a great voice, very captivating stuff. I would say, Job for a Cowboy and this Castle Rat were like really big highlights for me, and makes me want to check out more stuff that they do, especially in the future. So yeah, if you love doom metal, if you love like that old school classic sound of Black Sabbath, man, check out Castle Rat. Definitely highly recommended. Next up, we got Spectral Voice with, I don't even know how to pronounce this for sure, Spargaminos or something like that. They're kind of like a death doom band. I'd say they lean a little bit more heavy on the death metal side, but there are doom influences. I thought this was pretty solid. I'm going to go do another re-listen to check it out again. But yeah, just off rip, pretty good stuff. Next up, we got Ulcerate, Cutting the Throat of God. This is technical death metal. And yeah, like, this stuff is insane, man. They're really cool. If you're into like that, I'm trying to like think of, I can't really think of a comparison off the top of my head, but I guess you'd say like Job for a Cowboy, like times 10. Like it's pretty intense stuff. But yeah, man, definitely check these guys out. They're pretty awesome. But yeah, that's gonna do it all. That's gonna do it for what I've kind of checked out this week. Like I said, not a ton of stuff, but we'll definitely be diving into more stuff in the future. This is just an introductory episode, so. And all right, so yeah, we're gonna get on to our main thing, and that is gonna be the top 10 found footage horror movies. Now, I'm not gonna do any honorable mentions. You know, you might see that going forward with do more lists. You know, when it comes to movies, but found footage horror movies to me is one of my favorite subgenres of horror movies. I go all the way back to the Blair Witch Project. Even like Last Broadcast, I know it came out a little bit before it. You can even go way back. Like some people even consider like Cannibal Holocaust the very first found footage horror movie. And yeah, that's kind of technically true. But I kind of think like the movie that really kicked off found footage horror movies and set things in motion was the Blair Witch Project. You can argue that all day, but when it comes to like box office numbers and everything that preceded it, you know, there were some before it, even like Man Bites Dog, if you guys have checked that out, but kind of like nothing really stick to where it kind of became like a staple or like a main subgenre for people. So what we're going to get into today, we are starting off at number 10, and that'll be Evil Things. Released in 2009. You can stream this on Tubi. It's directed by Dominic Perez. It's his debut film. So kind of the plot is like 5 college kids. They leave New York to celebrate a birthday in the country. And on the way, like, someone in a van's following them. So, yeah, so basically on their way up there, it's in the wintertime also. It kind of plays a little bit of a part. But yeah, like starting off early, they like stop at this restaurant, and the dude in the van's like parked outside, and the guy goes, one of the guys in the restaurant that's with the group of people, he goes out and confronts them, but they can't like see inside the van or anything, and it drives away. But once they reach their destination, you know, they're just kind of like 5 yuppie kids just chilling out for this girl's birthday, and little do they know, the dude in the van's gonna show up again. I won't like spoil anything. I don't think a lot of people might not like this movie. It's got pretty bad acting. It's pretty low budget, but for some reason, I'm just kind of drawn to it. Yeah, so definitely check it out if you guys want. So, headed up next, number 9. This is another movie people probably be like, this is crazy that you're including this, like, in your top 10 found footage horror movies. But you also have to consider, I love bad movies. Like, I can enjoy, like, really bad horror movies if they kind of make me laugh. And that's definitely what this next one did, and that's Bad Ben, which was released in 2016. It used to be streaming on Amazon. I think there's, like, 15 or 16 of these movies at this point. But when I went to, like, search, it didn't say that it was on there anymore, so I don't really know where you can watch this at the time of recording. But it was directed by Tom Fanslab. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But it's his debut film. I believe he did everything. You know, produced it, shot it. You know, it was just kind of like his thing. But basically, the plot is this guy, Tom Riley, buys a house to flip and comes to find out it's haunted. So he gets a hold of his buddy that's like an electrician and sets up cameras in the house to see if he can like pick up on anything. And yeah, basically the movie's like him basically renovating this house, cleaning it up, and kind of like every night like stuff starts happening. You know, your usual like haunted house stuff, like furniture moving, bangs, knocks. I don't think it's meant to be taken seriously. It's kind of like a comedic horror found footage movie. Like I said, it's very low budget. This dude made it for barely anything. I also believe he even filmed it in his grandmother's house when she passed away. So I don't know. It was entertaining. it's just kind of like something you can turn your brain off. But I remember I watched this. I think I watched it during the pandemic, and yeah, it just was really entertaining. I ended up watching it a couple more times. It's kind of too bad that it's not streaming anywhere anymore, but I will say that like the sequels really start to go off the rails. They really lay into kind of like the comedic, kind of like corny aspect of things. But the first one on its own, I would say is pretty solid. But any of the ones after that, like I haven't seen them all obviously because that's just like way too many, but I believe I actually got up to like 4 or 5 or 6 somewhere in that area. And yeah, I kind of just checked out at that point. Next up, we got number 8, and that's Unfriended from 2014. Once again, cannot find this streaming anywhere. So I guess your best, and some of these you can rent, but like when it comes to a streaming service, I couldn't find this anywhere. It was directed by Labian Gabardazzi? I don't know how to pronounce that name. I'm sorry for butchering some of these names. Like, I just don't know how to pronounce them correctly. But this is basically, the plot is a group of friends, or like a group of like online friends, find themselves haunted by a supernatural force using an account of their dead friend. And like pretty much everything I believe is shot through a MacBook. So it's like very interesting. You know, you got like it, especially like for 2014, it was pretty relevant, and it is kind of like still relevant today, even like post pandemic, where most people are, you know, like most younger people, you know, they just kind of like chat online or through games or, you know, stuff like that. I just found this movie very fresh for the time, especially very different for a found footage movie. You know, I couldn't recall anything else that was really like it at the time. The whole group of friends seemed very realistic. Nothing seemed kind of like corny or out of place. You know, you had like one of the guys was a streamer, so like he had his whole streaming set up and everything like that. You had a lesbian couple. And then you know, you had your shy guy, you know, all your stereotypical kind of things that you see in movies, but they all seem genuine. You know, some people like when I know some people that watch this movie and they're like, God, it's so annoying. Like, I didn't really like the characters and all that stuff. It's like, but you got to think most like 18 to 22-year-olds are annoying. And that's including myself. I'm sure if I had recorded myself back in the day, you know, but that's kind of like the point. It's realistic. They're young kids, you know, so it's like, but yeah, and some of the kills, like you know, because it kind of revolves around someone we're taking it as hacking their friend's account, and kind of these people are getting picked off one by one. But yeah, I just thought it was really good. I liked it a lot. All right, now we're making our way to number 7. And at number 7, I'm cheating here. I'm putting in VHS and VHS too. So, VHS came out in 2012. You can stream it on Peacock and Tubi. And VHS 2 was released in 2013, and you can also stream it on Peacock and Tubi. So VH1, it has several directors: Adam Wingard, David Bruckner, Ty West, Glenn McQuaid, Joe Swanberg, and Radio Silence. And it's basically an anthology of short films all tied in together. But I would say, like, one second really quick. Alright, back. Just had to grab a pen here really quick. I would say my favorites of the first VHS would be the one called Tuesday the 17th. And that's directed by Glenn McQuaid. And it's basically about a group of friends who go to a lake in the woods. And there's like this glitched out killer picking them off. So if you think like Friday the 13th mixed with found footage, mixed with a killer. And when I say glitch, like if you think of almost like a TV static, but in the outline of a killer, it's just really cool and unique, man. Like I never seen anything like it. I kind of like the mix of like, it kind of reminded me of, if you guys have ever seen Creep Show 2. The one episode where the group goes to the lake and it's got like that thing in the lake that's killing them. I would say it's like in the style of that, but also a slasher film. Yeah, really cool stuff. And the other one I really liked was called 10/31/98, and that was directed by Radio Silence. And it's basically about a group of friends that go to a Halloween party, but they get the wrong address and stumble onto like this crazy house. Like basically, if you think a haunted house, but things are legit, and there could be like some satanic elements going on also in the house. There's some really cool special effects, and it was just really well done. So yeah, I really love those two from the first VHS. Then if we're going to VHS 2, our directors here are Simon Barrett, Adam Wingard, we got Eduardo Sanchez, Greg Hale, Timo Tija, sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing that. Timo, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. We also have Gareth Evans and Jason Eisner. And it's the same. It's just a plot, it's a horror anthology, it's a sequel. It kind of does the same things where things tie in, and it also kind of is related to the first one, the tie-in aspect about these mysterious tapes. But the ones I liked from this was Phase 1 Clinical Trials, directed by Adam Wingard. It's about a guy that gets an eye implant and he starts seeing a ghost. It is creepy as hell. I am not gonna lie. It was really well done. Like everything shot through his kind of like his eye that he has implanted. So once again, that's kind of the thing with these first two VHS movies, is the use of different ways to get found footage is cool. They just find different camera takes other than just, it was shot on VHS. Why are these people using a VHS tape? Things kind of seem more natural. The guy had an eye implant, and it records, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, man, the ghost stuff is really cool. There's another girl that kind of shows up at his door, like, out of nowhere, and it's really weird, like, why is she there? And just really good stuff. I would honestly say it's probably my favorite segment in all the VHS series. Just, I don't know, I just really enjoy it. And then the other one I really enjoyed from VHS 2 was A Ride in the Park, directed by Eduardo Sanchez and Greg Hale. Eduardo Sanchez, you might know. We might be talking about him later from the Blair Witch Project, but we might not. But this is a guy riding a bike and he stumbles upon a zombie, and like everything's shot from his helmet cam. He's recording his mountain biking experience. So yeah, it's basically the dude stumbles upon a body that's just laying there, and it's a zombie, and he's trying to get out of there, and just like craziness ensues. They stumble upon like this birthday party, and the zombies get to all the people at the birthday party, and then they turn into zombies, and it's just like all out chaos. But it was just like a really cool way of doing things. If you like zombie stuff, you'll really enjoy it. If you like found footage, you'll enjoy it. So it's kind of like the total package, I think. So yeah, that's like the VHS series. There are also other good ones throughout these I'm just not mentioning, but yeah, VHS 1 and 2, very much enjoyed. Didn't really care for any of the other ones that they came out with, but yeah, definitely check these out. Alright, we're going to get into number 6 here, and this is Paranormal Activity 2. I only wanted to include one Paranormal Activity movie, and it was actually pretty hard between 1, 2, and 3. Those are the ones I really enjoy more than any of the others. The marked ones was also pretty good, but I did rewatch that movie, and it kind of didn't hold up like it did the first time watching it. But Paranormal Activity 2, directed by Todd Williams, you can. It was released in 2010. You can stream this on Paramount Plus. It's obviously the sequel to Paranormal Activity. So the plot is a family thinks they are getting break-ins at their home, so they set up security cameras in the house. But it's not people breaking in; it's something kind of different. Like I said, it's a sequel to the first movie, so we have tie-ins from the first one, some of the same people. I believe it's the girl's sister from the first movie, it kind of follows. But I won't spoil too much if you haven't seen it, but I would definitely recommend watching the first one before you watch the second one. But yeah, I really enjoyed the security camera stuff, the family, and the kind of the main thing, the main character is the kids in the movie. And I just thought everyone's acting was really great. It was shot very well. The scares were really good. I would just say that it's probably my favorite one out of the whole series, and I had to include it. If I didn't include this one, it would have honestly been the third one, just based on... I guess we'll talk about it for a minute, but it also ties in... All these movies tie in together in some point, but I think the first three tie in the best. But yeah, the third one takes place in the 80s. It's like earlier, so it's kind of cool. Kind of like some of the camera tricks they do in that one. But I think overall, Paranormal Activity 2 is my favorite of the bunch. All right, now, I guess you guys are probably seeing a lot of these movies that I really enjoy kind of came out around the same time, kind of like the mid, like 2010, somewhere like between like 2006 and 2012. You see a lot of these. I think between like 2005 and 2015, I guess we'll give it a 10-year window. I think some of the best found footage horror movies were put out. That's just my opinion, though. But yeah, number 5. I know some people might rank this even higher. It's pretty well regarded, and that's Grave Encounters from 2011. You can watch this on Tubi also. Tubi's got a lot of great found footage stuff, by the way. But anyways, getting into Grave Encounters. It's directed by the Vicious Brothers. And it's about a group of ghost hunters filming a show at a psych hospital. And yeah, things don't go as planned. The interesting thing about this, and it was very relevant at the time, was it takes shots at like I think it mainly takes shots at ghost adventures. Like these people are going in, they film a TV show, they know it's fake, they know they don't ever get anything. So it's very, like, tongue-in-cheek, like, you see him paying off, like, a gardener to say, like, this place is haunted, when it really isn't. Well, you'll see, but, they're just going into this, like, yeah, it's just another BS show that we have to do, and they think they're just gonna have to fake everything, but little do they know, they're not faking everything. It was cool. It was something fresh at the time. I know there's more movies that came out after it that kind of like take shots at these fake paranormal shows. But for the time, man, this was fresh. It was cool. I remember when it came out, I think I was reviewing movies at the time, and it was in my I think it was in my top 5 movies of the year that it came out. Like, I watched this movie a lot, and it even still holds up. It hasn't been too long since I watched it, and yeah, I still enjoy it. Some of the special effects, kind of a little on the cheap end, but some of the natural stuff they do, natural scares that they have are really good. But this is a movie I highly recommend. I think almost anyone that enjoys horror movies would like this one, maybe unlike some of the other ones I've talked about that are more on the low budget cheesy side. This is actually a pretty creepy movie, pretty entertaining also. All right, now we're getting on to number 4. And this is The Last Exorcism from 2010. You guys can check this out on Amazon Prime. It's directed by Daniel Storm. The plot is a fake exorcist goes on his last job and he wants to film it. But soon he finds out, man, maybe this whole thing ain't fake after all. So yeah, basically the plot setup is this guy does exorcisms, but he fakes everything. He kind of goes through, like, the routine of, like, the fake cross that's got, like, a mister in it or, like, a steam thing. he kind of goes over like the stuff, kind of like the gags that he does. So right away, this guy's kind of like a piece of crap. But he wants to film this last one because he just wants to expose that, none of this stuff's real and all this kind of stuff like that. And early on, you can tell he's like, you got your typical, I don't know if they're Christian or Catholic or if they even say, but he's got like, his family is like the nice churchy looking family and all that. And I don't even think they know about it. But yeah, he gets this letter in the mail. And it sets them off out into the country. There's a girl that, their father's experiencing weird things going on. And the brother doesn't want him there. Clearly the brother, the sister, and the dad had lost his wife. And you can kind of tell he's kind of a mess. So, it kind of starts out with them doing all their stuff. And they're kind of thinking something's going on with the dad. Like, I don't want to say what. Probably can't say it on YouTube. But they think something's up with the dad right away. And yeah, it's not the dad. I don't really want to spoil anything because I very highly recommend this movie. This is it's got excellent production. The scares are genuinely terrifying. I love stuff about like demonic stuff and like exorcism related stuff. But if that's up your alley, man, I highly, highly recommend this movie. It could even go up higher. Like, my list ain't set in stone per se. Maybe the number one. But they could be interchangeable. And yeah, this was a really fun, scary movie. Alright, now we're coming up to the big three. This was tough. Number 2 and number 3 were tough. But number 3, we're going to go with Creep. Released in 2014. You can check this out on Netflix. Directed by Patrick Bryce. The plot of this is a videographer is set out to record a client that says he has a brain tumor and he's going to die before his daughter is born. So he wants to capture video of kind of like the day in his life and everything like that, just so she can have something to remember him by. And things start off weird from the bat. Like the dude goes to his house, the videographer, and he can't like he ain't there, or he thinks he ain't there, and he ends up like putting on this mask and scaring him, like this werewolf looking mask. There's like another scene where he's just like, bathing, in the bathtub, just kind of like this. The videographer is like, this dude's freaking weird, but at the same time, he feels sorry for him. Like, so you kind of can't blame him, and basically he's there just staying with him as he goes over things. It's very unique, very different for the time when this came out. I wouldn't really say there's anything else like it. Early on, it can kind of tug at you, like, you feel sorry for this dude. Like, man, he's gonna die. He seems very charismatic, but he seems off. And you'll find out by the end of the movie, this dude is really off. And what is real? What is not? What's he making up? What is the truth? It gets crazy. Very highly recommend this one. There is also a sequel that's very good too. But I'd say the first one, the first Creep, is where it's at. Definitely check this one out. And if you like it, check out the second one too. But yeah. Alright, our number 2, we're getting close there. You guys can probably tell what number 1's gonna be, but number 2, we're going with Lake Mungo. This was released in 2008. You can check this out on Tubi. Directed by Joel Anderson. And it's basically a pseudo-documentary mixed with found footage. And it covers this family that loses their daughter due to being drowned. She goes missing, but then they found that she drowned. And after that happens, they start experiencing paranormal stuff. Paranormal stuff starts happening in their home. Their son is also a photographer. there's a mother, a father, and a son that all live in the same house. And the son's a photographer. So he's like taking pictures, setting up cameras, kind of doing stuff like that. In the movie, he's doing like a time lapse thing where like kind of like, like artsy photographer people do. They do kind of like these weird things, but he does this thing where he sets up a camera and like every day takes a picture of the same picture in the same spot. And there's like one of the pictures you see her in it. Or there's like another one where he's videotaping and you see her in the mirror. But underlying this whole thing, there's like a mystery, like things, like the way that she died and disappeared just didn't make sense to the family. And the stuff that unravels during the story, like there's stuff going on with the kid. The daughter was up to probably stuff she should not have been doing. And if you didn't know that this was a movie, you would honestly think it was a documentary. Like I remember my mom watched this and like she asked me like, "Is this real? Like is this a documentary?" And it's like I kind of hate to say that it wasn't because it kind of makes you get more into the movie, but yeah, it's just very well done, man. The cinematography is amazing. The characters are very good, very believable. I mean, you would think this is real. I mean, it's that well done. But yeah, it's a movie I've checked out quite several times, and every time I watched it, it's almost kind of still has the same effect. Like, it's bleak, it's depressing, it's creepy, mysterious. It's just a very well-made movie. Very well-made. Probably the best-made movie on this entire list, to be honest. But it doesn't top the number one. And I know you guys are probably thinking, there's a movie missing here. And yeah, it might sound like a cop-out, but it's the Blair Witch Project. Released 1999. You can watch this on Prime Video. Directed by Eduardo Sanchez and Daniel Myrick. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But yeah, Eduardo Sanchez, the first person to make it twice. He's on there. He's on twice in this list. So basically, unless you guys have been living in a bunker or, like a nuclear fallout shelter, I mean, who hasn't seen the Blair Witch Project at this point? Who has? And even if you haven't seen it, who out here has not heard of it? This movie blew up at the box office. It was a huge hit. It was like the first of its kind. I mean, I know there was other found footage movies, and yeah, The Last Broadcast came out before, and it's very similar, but they're different. I mean, let's be honest. And The Last Broadcast, it's not as great. It's not all it's cracked up to be. You can kind of see why the Blair Witch Project got the rub here. But anyways, the plot. You got a group of three students who are going to hike into the Black Hills of Burkittsville to shoot a documentary about the myth of the Blair Witch. It's pretty straightforward and simple. Being released in 1999, and you guys gotta remember 1999. We didn't have smartphones. People were still using AOL at the time, so there wasn't like no way of kind of looking up a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of people thought this was real, and that's kind of like what terrified people. And also, they had released, the people released like a little like documentary on the Sci-Fi Channel. So like if people had the Sci-Fi Channel back then, they actually put out a documentary that was like made to look real. I never got to see that. I remember at the time that this came out, I had just left home. I was like 18 years old. I had an apartment. I didn't have any internet or cable or anything like that at the time. I was just like partying and working. Kind of like living that like 18-year-old lifestyle. So yeah, I got to go see this in the theater. Me and, I don't know, I think it was like, I was hanging out with like 2 or 3 girls at the time, and we all just decided to go to the movies to see it. I didn't know anything about it going into it, neither did they, and man, it was awesome. I was like blown away. The people I was with were freaking terrified. But yeah, it's really well done. It's kind of like a lot of some of the complaints I do hear about this movie is they say it's boring, is it drags, or like nothing happens. But it's like realistic in the sense like these are kind of like three college kids. You can tell that they're not like used to being out in the woods or anything like that. So yeah, a lot of it is them walking around. You get a lot of shaky cams, so you know if you don't like shaky cam stuff, you might get a little nauseous because like especially sometimes like when they're running and stuff like that, the camera can kind of, I guess, get to you. I've never really had that problem watching found footage movies, but yeah, and yeah, not a lot does happen, but there's so much creepy stuff in it that's like off camera or like noises or like when they got their tent set up and you know you hear like people running around outside the tent. There's these like you know the typical Blair Witch stick figure design up in the trees, leaving piles of rocks outside their tent when they wake up. There's all just like this stuff that makes your mind go, stuff that makes you think about what's going on, which I really appreciate. And then you get the finale of the movie. I will say spoiler alert here, because I mean this movie's been out for so long, and it's like everywhere that this is the one movie I'm gonna have an exception with spoiling, is the ending. You know, these three people, one person goes missing, so they're down to two people, and then one of them goes missing, so you're basically following just one character at this point, scared out of their mind. And then you know, they find this like place in the woods, like this like rundown shack house, and goes downstairs, and the one friend is just in the corner of this disgusting basement, like facing the wall. And then you hear like a thud, gets hit over the head, and it's like cut to black. So it's like you never technically see the witch. You don't really know what happened, to be honest. Like, was there someone out there following them and just stalking them and killing them? Or was there really the Blair Witch? You know, it leaves a lot up to your mind, which this movie does. There's a lot of stuff that just makes you think, makes you wonder. And it doesn't really, I guess kind of the bad thing is there's not really a lot of a payoff. But with a movie like this, I kind of didn't mind it. I've watched it so many times. There are sequels to it. There's the Blair Witch 2 that people just hate to pieces, which I love. If the Blair Witch 2 was found footage, there are elements of found footage, but it's basically a straight up movie. You know, and it covers kind of like, it covers, I don't know, it's weird, like, it's not like a sequel in the sense of a normal sequel. It's basically like, hey, this Blair Witch movie existed, and it takes place in the town of Burkittsville, where it's being like run over by people going there to see the Blair Witch because they've seen it in the movie theater, and it follows this guy that gives tours and stuff like that. Like, it's very different. I appreciate it. I think it's a pretty well done movie. And then they did like a reboot / remake, which I don't really remember a lot about. I know I've seen it, but I just think it's very unmemorable, I guess. So yeah, that's going to do it for the top 10 list here. I'd be curious, what's your guys' top 10? Do you agree with any of mine? Do you think I'm just out of my mind with some of the picks that I made? I'm always like looking for more suggestions of movies maybe I hadn't seen. And like I said, this being like one of my favorite genres, I can definitely come back to this. I can easily pick out 10 more movies that are very good. You know, this could have been an easy top 20, to be honest. But yeah, that's going to kind of be the introductory episode here. We're sitting about like 45 minutes, kind of what I set out, like 45 minutes to an hour. Some of these episodes may be longer, just depending on the topic, but some might be shorter like this. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're all listening on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe if you feel generous, and definitely leave those comments. I'm always curious to what you guys think, and especially on a topic like this, I would always love to see suggestions or know what your guys' number one is, or even leave me your top 10, top 5, top 1. Because if there's something on there maybe I haven't seen, or maybe it's been a long time and I need to revisit it, maybe it'll catch my eye again. So yeah,